The following is an excerpt of the Fruitless Pursuits podcast with Thorne and Jason. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Used to not give a fuck about discretion. What the fuck, man?
Do you remember when Steve Albini was sent, somebody had lifted like a I don't know, a big black sample or something and used it in electronic music, and they sent it to Albini. And he sent back this kind of backhanded letter that was essentially
Not
like
Steve Albini.
dogging them and saying that their music sucked, but he didn't care if they used his music.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like that sounds exactly like Steve Albini. You know what I mean? Like he is the most like I remember seeing an interview with him when he was like in his 30s, and I was like, how did they stuff a 70-year-old into this 30-year-old's body? Like he was like the biggest curmudgeon always.
Let me read the letter because it's great.
He is just such a I mean, I love him, and he's definitely going to be someone that pops up on, as we do, talk more in depth about when we go into our producer segments. But man, he's such a curmudgeon. Like, I heard him on this interview. It was a podcast, and it was with Mark Maron, and it was when Mark Maron was doing this stuff from his garage or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he was complaining about how you could hear his neighbor doing the lawn. Right. And Steve Albini is just like, they make a filter for that. Like, let me see what I can do about the level. He's like, yeah, they make a filter for that. Yeah, like that's as he's like, Mark Maron's rushing around Steve Albini. He's just like, yeah, they make a filter for that.
Yeah,
he said like 5 times.
His interviews are pretty great, and in fact, like lately, he seems way more approachable. There's some stuff online and on YouTube of him kind of talking about how he sets up mics and really kind of showing his process, which you wouldn't expect him to do. But go ahead.
I'm just gonna say he's always said that he's not like a magician. He's like, I guess in that he wrote a letter to Kurt Cobain when they were trying to get him to do the In Utero album, and he wrote them this letter that was like, and you probably read it. It's one of the things he says, that if anyone charges you more than X, which was a steal for a big album like that. Yeah, like I think it was like $60,000.
Like they're robbing you.
They're robbing you, right? And this should take 3 days. You should have all the songs written. We're not going to spend a lot of time doing this. Just like he laid out how he was going to do it. And I think for someone like Kurt Cobain, who is kind of like a no nonsense person when it comes to studio stuff, like he had done all the work. They're going to just record these songs, right? Yeah. He probably appealed to his sensibility and to his like his native asshole. Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about, honestly, I would be totally happy to talk about Steve Albini all episode, because I am a big fan of his. And if you are like, if you can get him to work on your album, even to this day, he doesn't charge a whole lot. He charges basically a little bit more per hour than his main engineer at his studio in Chicago. So anyway, I don't know when this dates back to. I guess it looks like 2015. This guy Oscar Powell releases music under Powell, which is, I think he's a UK guy. It's dance music. He did a song. He released a single that featured vocal samples from Albini that date back to Big Black, right? Ahead of its release, Powell emailed Albini to get a sample clearance and explain how much Big Black's music meant to him. This is the letter Steve Albini sent back. I am absolutely the wrong audience for this kind of music. I've always detested mechanized dance music. Its stupid simplicity, the clubs where it's played, the people who went to those clubs, the drugs they took, the shit they liked to talk about, the clothes they wore, the battles they fought amongst each other. Basically all of it. 100% hated every scrap. The electronic music I liked was radical and different. Shit like White Noise, Suicide, Kraftwerk, and the early stuff from Cabaret Voltaire, SPK, and DAF. When that scene and those people got co-opted by dance club music, I felt we'd lost a war. I detest club culture as deeply as I detest anything on earth. So I am against what you're into and an enemy of where you come from. But I have no problem with what you're doing. In other words, You're welcome to do whatever you like with whatever of mine you've gotten your hands on. Don't care. Enjoy yourself.
Don't care.
So good. It's like,
So-
I mean, that when I read that many, many years ago, that just kind of solidified my whole ideal of what he's about. I was like,
you love everything that he just said too.
yeah.
It's funny. So I've and kind of looking this up while you're reading that. XL bought a billboard in London to promote the single that this guy had released. The Powell, as you're saying, had released a single with the Steve Albini vocals, and so to promote it, his record label bought a billboard in London that is the email
and posted the letter.
Posted the letter. It's hilarious. Not that you could read it, as it is, but it's just kind of a funny thing. And then apparently Powell made a video of the so we'll have to go and look that video up too, but apparently made a video of the email as well. So I think that's pretty awesome. And you know what, if you're a fan of his, like, see, if this Powell guy is a fan of his, I mean, he has to kind of expect something like this.
It'd be half being crushed and half being, oh my God, I can't believe that he sent me this letter. And
it almost sounds
I got this little peek at,
if he said he loved it, you'd have to be suspicious of it.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's like, I hate this, everything. It's like so him that you have to be like, oh,
this is it's genuine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He's coming at me.
Did you know that he worked, he did some engineering work on Helmet Meantime?
I didn't know that, but that wouldn't, I guess that is not surprising to me at the time, because he's at the time he's people know who he is, but he's not like a huge name. But
and Helmet was like an amphetamine reptile band, so they were kind of in that world too, with Jesus Lizard and the Cows and bands like that.
Sure.
So the story goes though that he was so upset about the way Andy Wallace mixed it, in particular the snare sound, which John Stanier's snare sound on that record has become kind of iconic, and there were 1,000 hardcore bands from the 90s that tried to chase that sound.
Right.
And what it is it's a mixed sample. It's half wooden snare, half metal snare.
Oh,
and
that's
he mixed
interesting.
it, so that's where it has that ping and that sharp crack to it.
That's interesting.
Which in retrospect, it does sound dated, but it is an earmark of that era.
For sure.
So he was so upset about that as I understand it, he was like, just take my name off the record.
Oh, that's crazy cool.
Which I don't know whether that's true, and I may be missing some details in that, but I do remember reading that somewhere, specifically about the snare sound and the way that it was mixed. So we love you, Steve.